The snow falls slowly over the cemetery. Margaret Ashford stands before a gravestone that should not exist. Joshua Michael Ashford, December 23, 1992. Our angel who returned to heaven. She does not cry. Not anymore. It has been 32 years. But every December 23rd she comes, alone, without security, without a driver, without witnesses. People say she is strong, that she moved on, that she rebuilt her life after her husband died 15 years ago. But no one knows she keeps the baby's room exactly the same. No one sees the nights when she holds the blue blanket and tries to remember his scent. No one knows she never truly lived after that December. Margaret takes a deep breath. The pain is the same. Always the same. She places a white rose on the cold stone. "Merry Christmas, my love," she whispers. And then she walks back to the car. 32 years earlier, St. Catherine Hospital, December 23rd, 11:47 p.m. Margaret was 26 years old, married for 3 years to David Ashford, heir to a real estate fortune, 8 months pregnant. She should not have gone into labor so early, but the contractions started during the company's Christmas dinner. David was out of town. She called Richard, her brother-in-law, the family's lawyer, married to her sister Linda. "Don't worry, Maggie. I'll take care of everything." Richard always took care of everything. She arrived at the hospital at 10 p.m., alone, afraid. The nurse who received her was young, serious, efficient, Evelyn Price. Hair pulled back, dark eyes, steady hands. "You're going to be fine, dear. Breathe." Margaret held her hand. She trusted her. The delivery was fast, painful, confusing. And then, silence. A silence that should not have been there. "Where is he?" Margaret tried to sit up. "Why isn't he crying?" Dr. Brennan avoided her eyes. Evelyn grabbed her shoulders firmly. I'm so sorry." Richard entered the room, pale, serious, papers in his hand. "Margaret, listen to me. There were complications. He didn't make it. I want to see my son. It's not a good idea. You're in shock. You need to rest." "I want to see my son." Evelyn injected something into her IV. Margaret went unconscious. When she woke up hours later, Richard was beside the bed, with papers. "You need to sign this. It's for the death certificate. It's protocol." She signed, without reading, without strength, without any reason to exist. Present day, Ashford Mansion, December 23rd, 5 p.m. The house is decorated, green wreaths, golden lights, a 13-foot tree in the main living room. Margaret hates Christmas, but corporate tradition demands it. The Ashford Foundation's annual charity gala is tomorrow, Christmas Eve. 100 guests, press, a speech. She enters through the back door. Sarah, her assistant, is waiting with a cup of tea. How was it? The same as every year. Sarah doesn't push. She's known Margaret for 10 years. She knows when silence is the kindest answer. Margaret goes upstairs. Passes the locked room. The key is in her coat pocket. It always is. She never opens it. She never needs to. She knows exactly what's inside. In her office, she sits at the glass desk, stacks of contracts, reports, emails, and an envelope. No sender. Left in the mailbox. Sarah steps in. "This arrived this morning. I thought it was strange." Margaret opens it. Inside, a single page. An old photocopy. Yellowed with age. It's a hospital document. St. Catherine Hospital. December 23rd, 1992. She recognizes the date. But it's not a death certificate. It's a transfer of custody. Male infant, mother, Margaret Ann Ashford. Authorized by Richard Ashford. Destination: unspecified private adoption. Margaret stops breathing. Her hands shake. Sarah approaches. "Margaret, what is that?" She doesn't answer. She just reads it again, and again, Transfer of custody, not death. Adoption. She looks at the signatures at the bottom. Richard Ashford, Evelyn Price. The teacup slips from Sarah's hands, shatters on the floor. Margaret stands, walks to the window. The city's Christmas lights blink in the distance. Sarah. Yes. I need a private investigator. The best one. What happened? Margaret turns around. Her eyes are not crying. They are burning. My son didn't die. And you watching right now. Have you ever stopped to think how many lies can hold up someone's entire life? How many truths were buried for convenience? If this story is moving you, if you feel the weight of what Margaret has just discovered, click like, subscribe to the channel. Because this story is only beginning, and I promise you, you will want to know what happens when a mother discovers that her grief was built on a lie. And tell me, where are you watching from? City? Country? Leave it in the comments. And if you'd like, tell me what you're thinking so far. I read every message. Because stories like this only truly matter when they're shared. Margaret calls Claire Mitchell at 6 p.m. Claire is known for solving cases the police walked away from. Discreet, expensive, ruthless when necessary. I need you to investigate something that happened 32 years ago. I'm listening. My son, they said he died at birth. But I just received a document that says otherwise. Silence on the other end. Do you have the names of the people who signed it? I do. Send it to me. And Margaret, yes, if he's alive. Do you really want to find him? Margaret closes her eyes. I need to. That night, Margaret doesn't sleep. She goes to the locked room, opens the door for the first time in 5 years. The crib is still there, the mobile of stars and moons, the blue blanket folded on the rocking chair. She sits down, holds the blanket, and for the first time in 32 years, she allows hope to breathe. But while Margaret begins searching for answers, someone, somewhere in the city, is living a life that was never supposed to be his, and he has no idea that everything is about to change. On the other side of the city, in a neighborhood where the Christmas lights are simpler, Daniel Warren is closing the gate of the Hope's Door shelter. 32 people had dinner today. Hot soup, fresh bread, coffee. He does this every day, for 7 years. Daniel has messy brown hair, tired but kind eyes, hands rough from someone who isn't afraid of hard work. He grew up in the foster care system, passed through 4 different families. None of them stayed. At 18, he was on his own. He worked construction, restaurants, parking lots. At 25, he found this place, and finally found a purpose. Spending Christmas here again, Daniel. Rita, the volunteer cook, is putting away the pots. Someone has to stay. You always say that, he smiles, because it's true. Rita shakes her head. You deserve a family, kid. I have one. He looks toward the common room, where a few residents are still watching TV. This one right here. But when Rita leaves and he's alone in the tiny office, Daniel looks at the document that arrived in the mail 3 days ago. A birth certificate. Delayed. Issued by the state. He requested it months ago. Bureaucratic paperwork to renew his documents. But something is wrong. The mother's name is crossed out. Illegible. The birth date doesn't match the one he's always used. And there is a stamp. Irregular adoption. Case closed without conclusion. He already tried calling the records office. No one answers this time of year. Daniel puts the paper in the drawer. Sighs. It doesn't matter, he murmurs to himself. It doesn't change anything. But it does. He knows it does. Because his whole life, Daniel felt like a part of him was missing. A hole no foster family ever filled. A question that never had an answer. Why did no one want me? December 24th. Morning. Claire Mitchell is sitting in her office, surrounded by old files, computer screens, and cold coffee. She worked all night, and she finally found it. Afternoon of December 24th, Ashford Foundation. The charity gala is being prepared, tables set, floral arrangements. The orchestra tuning instruments. Margaret arrives at 3 p.m., navy blue dress, pearl necklace, practiced elegance. Richard is in the hall, talking with donors. He sees her, smiles, walks toward her. Maggie, you look beautiful. She forces a smile. Richard. He kisses her cheek. I know this time of year is hard for you, but you've always been strong. Strong. The word makes Margaret feel sick. I'm going to give a short speech today, she says casually. About family, loss, truth. Richard laughs. You've always been good with words. I learned from the best. He squeezes her shoulder. David would be proud of what you built on your own. On your own, because you made sure I was on my own, she thinks, but she only smiles. Thank you, Richard. Meanwhile, Daniel is helping prepare Christmas dinner at the shelter. 20 people confirmed for the night. He and Rita bought turkey, mashed potatoes, apple pie. But Daniel is distracted. He can't stop thinking about the birth certificate. Irregular adoption. What does that mean? Why did no one ever talk about this before? Daniel! Rita calls from the kitchen. I need you in here. He goes, works, smiles, talks. But the question is burning inside him. It's 6 p.m. Now, on the other side of the city, the charity gala begins. 100 elegant guests fill the Ashford Foundation Hall. Champagne, canapes, polite laughter. Margaret moves through the room, greets people, thanks donors, and then she sees him, across the room, a young man, brown hair, eyes she recognizes. He's serving drinks, simple uniform, invisible to most, but not to her, because those eyes, they are David's eyes. She stops breathing. Sarah approaches. Margaret, are you okay? That man, who is he? Sarah looks. Oh, catering staff. The company we always hire. Find out his name. What? Now, Sarah. Sarah hesitates, but obeys. Margaret doesn't take her eyes off him. Daniel feels the stare. Turns. For a second, his eyes meet hers. Something strange happens. A chill. A recognition without a name. He frowns. She looks away. But both of them feel it. Something. Sarah returns with the information. Daniel Warren, manager of a shelter called Hope's Door. The catering company works with volunteers from there for events. Margaret repeats the name. Daniel Warren. She pulls out her phone. Texts Claire. Daniel Warren. Hope's Door. Check it. The reply comes 2 minutes later. I'm on it. Daniel finishes his shift at 10 p.m. He takes the bus back to the shelter. The streets are full of lights, families walking, excited children. He feels that familiar loneliness. Christmas has always been like this. He sees other people's joy, never his own. But this year, something is different. That woman, at the gala, the way she looked at him, like she knew him. But that's impossible. He's never seen her before. 11 p.m. Margaret is in her office, waiting. The phone rings. Claire. Margaret. I found it. Her heart races. What? Records. Sealed. But I got access. A baby was transferred from St. Catherine on December 23rd, 1992. No formal adoption. No completed process. He was placed in the system. The system? Orphanages. Temporary homes. Until 18. Margaret closes her eyes. Her son grew up alone. Without a name. Without a family. Without his mother. There's more, Claire continues. The name he uses now, Daniel Warren. Warren was the last name of the first family that tried to adopt him. It didn't work out. But the name stayed. Are you sure? 90%. But to be 100, I need DNA. Margaret opens the drawer. Inside, the blue baby blanket. I have something of his, from the hospital. It was with him when he was born. Perfect. And Margaret? Yes? I'll need his DNA too, Margaret thinks. I know where to find him. Afternoon of December 24th. Margaret drives alone to Hope's door. She doesn't tell Sarah. She doesn't bring security. It's a simple building, worn red brick, a faded sign. She parks across the street, waits. At 2 p.m., Daniel comes out. He's carrying boxes, talking with an older woman, smiling. Margaret grips the steering wheel tightly. That smile, it's David's smile. She gets out of the car, walks to the entrance. A volunteer greets her. Can I help you? I'd like to make a donation for the Christmas dinner. Oh, how wonderful. Let me call Daniel. Margaret waits in the small lobby. Walls covered with children's drawings, a bulletin board, photos of community events, and then he walks in. Daniel freezes when he sees her. He recognizes her from last night's gala. Hello, he says, polite but confused. Can I help you? Margaret extends her hand. Margaret Ashford. I saw your work yesterday at the foundation. I was impressed. He shakes her hand. The touch burns. Daniel Warren. Thank you for coming. They talk for 15 minutes. Margaret asks questions. He answers. He talks about the shelter, the people, his dreams. When she leaves, she hands over a check for $50,000 and takes with her the coffee cup he used. Meanwhile, in a quiet suburb, Evelyn Price is sitting in the kitchen of the small house Richard has paid for decades. She is 55, but looks 70. Guilt ages. She looks at her phone. No messages. Richard hasn't called in 2 weeks. He never calls near Christmas. It's the time he spends with his family, or what's left of it. Evelyn lights a cigarette. Her hands tremble. 32 years. 32 years waiting for him to keep his promise. When I take control of the fortune, I'll leave everything. You and me, a new life. But he never left. He stayed married to Linda for 20 more years, divorced her, but never came to Evelyn. He only visited, paid bills, slept with her, left. Evelyn was never a wife. She was the secret, and the price of that secret was a baby ripped from his mother's arms. She puts out the cigarette, stands, goes into the bedroom. Under the bed, an old box, inside, documents, photos, proof. She never threw them away, because some part of her always knew this would come back. Night of December 24th, private laboratory. Claire receives the DNA results at 8 p.m. She calls Margaret immediately. It's him. Margaret is in the dark living room of the mansion. Only the Christmas tree lights are on. Are you absolutely sure? 99.9% match. Daniel Warren is your son, Margaret. The world stops. 32 years of mourning, 32 years of guilt, 32 years of pain, all built on a lie. Margaret doesn't cry. She never cries. But something inside her breaks, and at the same time, rebuilds. Claire. Yes. I need everything. Documents, records, bank transfers, all of it. You're going to confront him. I'm going to destroy him. Claire works through the night. She uncovers everything. 1992. Richard convinces Evelyn to falsify the death certificate. The baby is transferred into the state adoption system using fraudulent documents. Richard assumes control of the Ashford fortune as legal administrator. 1992-2002. Richard diverts millions. Fake investments. Shell companies. Offshore accounts. 2002. The administration period ends, but Richard has already stolen enough to live comfortably. 2010. David Ashford dies. Margaret inherits everything, but a large part has already been stolen. 2013. Richard divorces Linda, but never publicly claims Evelyn. He only keeps her hidden. 2024. Margaret discovers the truth. Claire assembles a complete dossier. 50 pages. Enough evidence for prison. Enough evidence for bankruptcy. Enough evidence for total destruction. Morning of December 25th. Margaret wakes at 5 a.m. She didn't sleep, but she isn't tired. She's focused. She picks up her phone, types a message. 2. Richard Ashford subject. Christmas dinner. Message. Richard, I need to talk to you about something urgent, related to family assets. Can you come to dinner tonight? 7 p.m. It's important. She sends it. The reply comes 10 minutes later. Of course, Maggie. I'll be there. Margaret smiles. Cold. He has no idea what's coming. Noon on December 25th. Daniel is at the shelter, preparing dinner. 23 people confirmed. Turkey, mashed potatoes, pie. But he's distracted. That woman, Margaret. Why did she unsettle him so much? And why such a generous amount, he wonders. The phone rings. Unknown number. Hello? Daniel Warren? Yes? My name is Claire Mitchell. I'm a private investigator. I need to speak with you. It's about your origins. Daniel freezes. My... what? Your biological mother. She's looking for you. The phone almost slips from his hand. That's not possible. I was abandoned. No one ever looked for me. She didn't abandon you, Daniel. You were taken from her. Silence. I need you to come to my office, now. I have documents, proof, and a story that will change your life. Daniel looks around. The shelter, the people, the only family he's ever known. I don't know if I want to know. Daniel. Claire's voice softens. She cried for you every day for 32 years. She never forgot you. She never stopped loving you. The tears come before he can stop them. Who is she? Margaret Ashford. The name cuts through Daniel like a shot. The woman from yesterday, her eyes, the way she looked at him, like she knew him. I'll come, he whispers. 4 p.m. Claire's office. Daniel walks in. Claire is waiting. She places the dossier on the desk. Sit. This will take some time. For 2 hours, Claire tells him everything. The hospital, the lie, Richard, Evelyn, the inheritance, the scheme. Daniel reads the documents, sees the proof, the DNA. When it's over, he's shattered. My whole life was a lie. Your life was stolen, but now you can take it back. And she, Margaret, does she want to see me? Claire smiles. She doesn't just want to see you, Daniel. She wants justice, and she needs you for it. What do I need to do? Christmas dinner, tonight, at her house. Richard will be there. She'll confront him, with proof, with witnesses. And me. You are the living proof. You are the son they tried to erase. Daniel takes a deep breath. 32 years without a family. And now, I'm in. 7 p.m. Ashford Mansion. The table is set, only 3 places. Margaret, Richard, and 1 empty seat. Richard arrives right on time. Dark suit, confident smile. Maggie, Merry Christmas. Richard, thank you for coming. They sit. Wine is poured. Richard raises his glass. To old times. Margaret doesn't drink. She only watches. Richard, do you remember December 23rd, 1992? He freezes, glass suspended midair. Of course, it was a terrible day. Why? You lost Joshua. We all did. You were there, at the hospital. Yes. I tried to help. Margaret places an envelope on the table. Then explain this. Richard opens it, sees the transfer document. The color drains from his face. Where did you get this? Answer me. Were you helping, or were you stealing? The dining room door opens. Daniel steps inside. Richard stands abruptly, confused. What is... Margaret stands as well, looks at Daniel. And for the first time in 32 years, she sees her son, not as a stranger, but as what he always was, hers. "Richard," she says, her voice breaking, "I want you to meet someone. Joshua Michael Ashford, my son, the son you told me was dead." Richard steps back. "Margaret, this is madness. Sit down." Her voice is a blade. He sits, and Margaret begins to tell the truth, all of it. Richard is pale, standing, hands shaking. "Margaret, I can explain. Sit down. It's not a request." He sits. Daniel is standing by the door, looking at Margaret, at Richard, trying to process everything. Margaret picks up the dossier Claire prepared, 50 pages. She opens it to the first. December 23rd, 1992, St. Catherine Hospital, 11:47 p.m. My son is born, alive, healthy, crying. Richard opens his mouth. She raises her hand. "Do not interrupt." He closes his mouth. At 11:52 p.m., you enter the delivery room with documents. You say there were complications, that my son died. She turns the page. "But this right here, this is the custody transfer record, signed by you and by Evelyn Price at 12:15 a.m. on the 24th. She slides the document across the table. "My son didn't die, Richard. Did you sell him? Trade him? Make him disappear?" "I didn't." "Margaret, you don't understand. Then explain it to me." The silence is heavy. Daniel finally speaks, his voice rough. "Why?" Richard looks at him. He looks like he's about to throw up. "Who are you?" "The baby," Daniel says slowly. "The baby you made disappear." Richard shakes his head. No, this is impossible." Margaret places another document on the table. "DNA test. Done 48 hours ago. 99.9% match. He is my son." The words fall like stones. Richard sinks into the chair. "Margaret, You what? You stole from me? Stole my son? Why?" Silence. Margaret stands, walks toward him, leans in, her eyes burning. "Say it, now." Richard takes a shaky breath. His hands tremble. "The inheritance," he whispers. "What?" "David's will. If there was an heir, I would lose control. You would inherit everything, but I wouldn't be the administrator. The money would go into a trust until the boy turned 21. Margaret steps back, as if she's been punched. "You made my son disappear. For money. I was in debt. I needed access to the fortune, just for a few years." "Just until a few years?" Margaret's voice explodes through the room. Daniel flinches. Richard shrinks. 32 years, Richard. 32 years. I cried every day, every day. I visited an empty grave. I kept a room locked. I lost my husband. I lost my life. She points at Daniel. And him. He grew up alone, without a family, without a name, with nothing, because of you. Richard is crying now. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Sorry doesn't give the years back. Margaret turns to Daniel. Their eyes meet. There is so much unsaid, so much pain, so much time lost. "Did you know," Daniel asks, his voice breaking, "that I could have been alive?" "No," Margaret whispers. "I swear, I thought you had died. I would have looked for you. I would have..." The words die. Daniel wipes his tears. "I spent my whole life wondering why no one wanted me." Margaret feels her chest tighten. "I always wanted you, always. From the very first second." They look at each other. Two strangers. And at the same time, mother and son. Richard tries to stand. "Margaret, please. We can fix this. I can give the money back, I can..." "You think this is about money?" She picks up her phone. Dials. Claire, can you bring her in? 15 minutes later, the doorbell rings. Margaret opens the door. Claire is there, and beside her, Evelyn Price. She is older, thinner, grey hair, hollow eyes. When she sees Richard, she stops. "Evelyn," he whispers, "what are you doing here?" "What I should have done 32 years ago," she says, her voice tired. Margaret invites her in. Evelyn sits, looks at Daniel. "You grew up," she murmurs. "Do you know me?" Daniel asks. "I held you when you were born. You were perfect." "Then why did you do this?" Evelyn closes her eyes. "Because I loved a man who never loved me back." She looks at Richard. "He promised me. Said when he had control of the fortune, he'd leave everything. His wife, the double life, and we would be together." Richard turns pale. "Evelyn, don't." "I waited 35 years. Richard, 35. Her voice breaks. "You used me, made me risk everything, lose everything. And for what? To be your secret, your hidden lover. The woman you visit when you're bored." Margaret watches, unmoved. Evelyn turns to her. "I'm sorry. I know it changes nothing. But I need you to know. I carried this guilt every day, every night, every breath." "You should have," Margaret says coldly. "I know. You took my son from me. I know. For a man who never loved you." Evelyn sobs. "I know." Margaret picks up the last envelope. "These are the bank records. Richard's transfers to you. For 32 years, he bought you, kept you quiet, controlled you." She throws the envelope onto the table. "And you let him?" Evelyn doesn't answer. She just cries. Richard stands. "You don't understand. I was going to tell her. I just needed time." "Time?" Margaret laughs. "Bitter. You had 32 years. Daniel finally stands, walks toward Richard. They face each other. "Do you know what it's like to grow up with no one?" Daniel asks quietly. "To wake up every day feeling like you don't belong anywhere, like no one would care if you disappeared." Richard looks away. "Look at me." Richard looks. "I could have had a mother, a family, a name, a life." "I know. You stole that from me." "I know." Daniel takes a deep breath. "And I will never forgive you." He turns and leaves the room. Margaret follows him. Hallway. Daniel is leaning against the wall, breathing hard, trying not to break. Margaret approaches slowly. "Daniel." He looks at her. "I don't know what to say," she whispers. "There are no words that give those years back. No apologies that heal what you went through. I don't want apologies. What do you want?" He hesitates. I just wanted to know that someone cared." Margaret's tears finally fall. "I always cared, even without knowing you were alive. I cared. Every day." Daniel wipes his face. "And now?" "What happens now?" "Now," Margaret takes a deep breath. "Now the truth comes out. Richard will pay. Evelyn will pay. And you. And me. You decide if you want to be part of my life, or if you'd rather move on, without me." Daniel looks at her. Really looks. He sees the pain, the guilt, the love that never died. "I need time," he says, "to process, to understand." "I understand. But," he hesitates, "I want to try, to know you. To know who I could have been." Margaret lets out a sound between a laugh and a sob. "I want that too." They stand there. In the hallway. Two strangers trying to find their way to each other. And for the first time in 32 years, there is hope. Back in the living room, Richard is trying to leave. Claire blocks the door. Where do you think you're going? I need to get out. I need to think. You're staying right here until the police arrive. Richard freezes. Police? Margaret enters. Did you think I'd let you walk out? After everything? Margaret, please. Fraud, forgery, kidnapping, embezzlement. You will answer for all of it. You can't prove. I have 50 pages of proof. Documents, bank transfers, witnesses. She looks at Evelyn. And a recorded confession. Richard turns to Evelyn, disbelief on his face. You betrayed me. I set myself free, she replies. The police arrive at 9 p.m. Richard is arrested, handcuffed, taken away. Evelyn too. But she doesn't resist. She simply accepts it. When the patrol cars leave, the mansion falls silent. Margaret, Daniel, Claire in the living room. What happens now? Daniel asks. Now the legal process begins, Claire says. It will take months. But with what we have, they won't escape this. Daniel nods. And me. Margaret looks at him. You can go back to the shelter. Continue your life. Or you can stay here tonight and see what it's like to have a real Christmas. Daniel looks around. The tree, the lights, the table still set. He thinks of the shelter, of the people who depend on him, but he also thinks of 32 Christmases alone. Can I do both? He asks. Margaret smiles. Of course. 11 p.m. Daniel calls Rita at the shelter. I won't be able to come back tonight. Something happened. Are you okay? Yes. For the first time, I think I am. Do you need anything? No. Just take care of everyone for me. Always do, kid. He hangs up. Margaret is in the kitchen, reheating food. It's not a traditional Christmas turkey, she says, but it's what I managed to put together. It's perfect. They sit, just the two of them. They eat in silence at first. Then slowly, they begin to talk. Small things, simple questions. What's your favorite color? Do you like coffee? Have you ever traveled anywhere? Rebuilding, piece by piece. Midnight. Margaret leads Daniel to the room she kept locked. You don't have to sleep here, she says. There are guest rooms, but I wanted you to see this. She opens the door. Daniel steps inside. The crib, the mobile, the blue blanket, 32 years untouched. He picks up the blanket, sits on the floor. Margaret sits beside him. I always knew, she whispers, deep down, that something was wrong, that you weren't dead. My heart never accepted it. I always felt something was missing, Daniel says. Like I belonged somewhere. I just didn't know where. They stay there, on the floor of the nursery. Mother and son. Finally, together. December 26th. Morning. Daniel wakes up in a room he does not recognize. For 1 second, panic. Then he remembers. He gets up and walks to the window. Snow covered the garden overnight. A soft knock at the door. Come in. Margaret opens the door carrying coffee. Good morning. Good morning. She sets the cup on the table, hesitates. Did you sleep well? Better than I imagined. They smile. Still awkward. Still fragile. I have something to show you, she says. The study. Margaret opens an old file. Inside, photographs. These are from the day you were born. Daniel takes the first photo. Margaret in the hospital. Pregnant. Smiling. I was so excited, she whispers. So scared, too, but excited. The next photo shows David, the father Daniel never knew. He died before I discovered the truth. But he would have loved you. He would have moved mountains for you. Daniel traces the man's face in the photo. The eyes. The smile. He finally understands where he came from. Margaret keeps showing photos, the nursery being prepared, the baby shower, the plans, a life that was waiting for him, and was stolen. "I'm sorry," Margaret says, her voice breaking, "for everything you lost." Daniel sets the photos down. "You lost too." "I know." "Then we lost together." Margaret looks at him. "And now?" "Now we rebuild. Together." She takes his hand. For the first time, her hand is small, warm, real. His is large, strong, gentle. Mother and son. 1 week later. The case against Richard and Evelyn moves quickly. The media explodes. "Lawyer stole baby to divert inheritance," the headlines scream. Margaret refuses interviews. She protects Daniel. But the truth comes out, all of it. Richard is sentenced to 15 years for fraud, falsification, and kidnapping. Evelyn receives 10 years. She completely breaks, confesses everything in detail, tries to atone. "It's never enough," she says in court, looking at Margaret and then Daniel. "But you need to know, I carry this every day, and I will carry it until I die." Daniel says nothing. He only watches. Margaret does the same. There is no forgiveness there, only justice. February. Daniel still lives in the small apartment near the shelter, but he spends weekends at the mansion. He and Margaret are learning, slowly, how to know each other, how to laugh together, how to trust. One Saturday, Margaret goes to Hope's door. She helps in the kitchen, serves soup, talks with the residents. "So you're his mother?" Rita asks. "Yes," Margaret says, smiling. "I am," Rita smiles back. "He's a good man." "I know." April. Margaret officially names Daniel as her heir, not just to the fortune, but to everything, the name, the history, the legacy. "You don't have to change your last name," she says. "Warren is who you are. I understand." "What if I want both?" Daniel asks. "Daniel Warren Ashford." Margaret loses her breath. You want that?" "Yes, because Warren is who I became on my own. But Ashford is where I came from. I want to honor both." Margaret embraces him. For the first time. For real. And Daniel does not pull away. He holds her back. June. Margaret creates a foundation. Lost and Found Children. Dedicated to helping children in the foster and adoption system. Daniel becomes the director. Together, they work, so no child has to live what he lived. December. 1 year later. Christmas Eve again. But this year is different. Margaret wakes early and goes to the room that used to be locked. Now it is an office. The crib was donated. The mobile carefully stored away, but the blue blanket is framed on the wall. A memory, not a prison. She smiles and goes downstairs. Daniel is in the kitchen, making coffee, listening to music. "Good morning, Mom." The word still makes her heart leap. "Good morning, son." They have coffee together, talk about the day. In the afternoon, they go to the cemetery. Together. Margaret places a rose on the grave. "I thought you didn't come here anymore," Daniel says. "I didn't for months. But today, I wanted to say goodbye." Goodbye to what? To the grief, to the pain, to the weight I carried for 33 years. She looks at Daniel. "You are alive, you are here, and I don't have to pretend I lost you anymore." Daniel holds her hand. "You never lost me. I was just waiting to be found." Christmas night. The mansion is full. Not of corporate guests, but of real people. Volunteers from Hope's door, close friends. Rita, Claire, people who matter. The table overflows, turkey, mashed potatoes, pie, laughter. Margaret raises her glass. "I'd like to make a toast." Everyone stops, looks at her. A year ago, I thought I knew what loss was. I thought I understood pain. But I was wrong. She looks at Daniel. Because you don't lose someone when they die. You lose them when you stop looking. And I never stopped. I didn't even know I was looking. But my heart knew. Daniel wipes away a tear. And now, I'm here, with my son, after 33 years, and I can say, her voice breaks, she breathes deeply, that miracles exist. They just need time, and truth, and courage. To Christmas, to reunion, and to second chances. To Christmas, someone echoes. To second chances. Glasses rise, they toast. Daniel stands and hugs Margaret. Thank you, he whispers, for never giving up. Thank you for existing, she whispers back. Later, when everyone has gone. Margaret and Daniel sit in the living room, only the tree lights glowing. That was the best Christmas of my life, Daniel says. Mine too, even after everything. Especially after everything. They sit in comfortable silence, complete. Do you think, Daniel asks, we would have found each other if that document had never arrived? Margaret thinks, I want to believe so. Somehow, the universe would have guided us to each other. You believe in that? Destiny? I believe in love and in God, and love always finds a way. Daniel smiles. I believe that too. Margaret's final words, alone in her room that night. She opens the diary she never showed anyone. She writes, December 23, 1992. My son was born today, and he was stolen from me. December 25, 2025. My son returned, and nothing will ever take him from me again. 33 years of darkness, but the light always returns. Always. Merry Christmas, Joshua. Merry Christmas, Daniel. My son, my miracle, my heart. She closes the diary, smiles, and sleeps in peace. And you, who followed this story until the end, have you ever had a Christmas that changed everything? Have you ever lost someone and found them again in a different way? Have you ever discovered that the truth, no matter how painful, is worth more than the most comfortable lie? Tell us below where you're watching from, and what part of this story touched you. Remember, miracles do exist, and love always finds a way. Merry Christmas, and thank you for being here.